Well, 30% of the overtly complex math in these books is a bit beyond me, but things are irreducibly simple. This is a great one, Gravitation and Co-Gravitation by Dr. Oleg D. Jefimenko. Another one that's got a lot of neat stuff in it, Causality, Electromagnetic, Induction, and Gravitation. Basically says, with the math, that gravity is no different than electrical phenomena. And of course, that's irreducibly the case. However, electricity is a hybrid of dielectricity and magnetism. Phi times psi equals Q in Planck of electrification. Electricity is not an autonomous field modality, nor does gravity exist. Obviously, the phenomena that we call gravity, obviously, certainly so, and logically so, exists. I'm not saying that. It's the case that gravity is non-point source, incoherent dielectric acceleration, what the common idiot fool human being calls magnetic attraction, which is not magnetic attraction at all, rather dielectric acceleration. Inertia and acceleration, the inverse to force and motion, and magnetism itself are the creation of space, the creation of time, since any Cartesian vector extrapolated is obviously so. Time is not a thing itself. Time is a human concept and contrivance made to measure magnitudes and the passing of magnitudes. Time is not an entity any more so than as a wave, or as a shadow, or as the concept irrationally and illogically reified by stupid human beings as something that actually exists. Of course, time does not exist. But we swim in the ocean of time, therefore we, of course, reify time as existent. Since human beings have lost the ability to use ancient metaphysical logic of coming to the answer of things, there's an ancient primer. And the one thing, for example, of translating ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, which human beings still can't do, is to have a primer. In this case, of course, it was the Rosetta Stone. Without the primer, and of course we still don't accurately have correct translations of them, without the primer we don't have the key to translate things. There's actually a primer to metaphysical comprehension of things which are subjective and not open for objective analysis. And that's called retroduction. I'll be writing a book about that in the near future. Right now there's just a few articles about it, but there are no books on the topic. But specifically as regards fields and like a grand unified theory, as I mentioned in other videos regarding the fundamental particle as seen in galactic jets, and of course the only fundamental particle we call the proton obviously does exist. But we can't extrapolate that out as do quantum physicists and other physicists who are, by definition, physicists. They are materialists. They're mathematicians. They only believe in things to be quantified. But the universe doesn't work on time, nor does it work on particles, nor are there a multitude of particles. Mother Nature, by proxy, cannot definitionally be enjoined to have such an irrational system, whereby which the universe is a hodgepodge of these countervening particles working with each other and against each other. There's only one fundamental particle. For example, a free neutron becomes a proton. I think it's in 17 minutes. It's always been measured. So a neutron is not an autonomous particle. It is a different field modality in the vortex of the nucleus that we call the atom. Tesla, Faraday, Oliver Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell, Charles Proteus Steinmetz, all of these geniuses as well as others, and these are the gods of field theory and electricity, all denied the electron. There's no such thing as a charge-carrying particle. This is the fantasy of delusional knuckle-dragging minds who are, by definition, atomists. Gravity does not exist. This is something that we've reified as something autonomous from electricity, from dielectricity and magnetism. It is as stupid for human beings and physicists and the irrational bull crap that we're taught in schools and colleges to assume that there are four things that need to be unified. They're not four things, for one. Number two, they've always been unified. The only reason that they're not unified is that human beings aren't intelligent enough to realize how they're actually connected. They're all actually one thing. It's as stupid for human beings to try to unify these things as it is for some sort of illiterate moron to try to unify water and steam and ice. Well, fundamentally, all of these are obviously the water molecule. They're just different modalities of one and the same damn thing. So gravity does not exist. It's an autonomous field modality that we've identified that has certain properties and characteristics due to A, it being non-point source, B, due to it being an incoherent acceleration. Number 3, electricity, we know for a fact, is dielectricity times magnetism, is a hybrid. This is an established fact of James Clerk Maxwell and Oliver Heaviside. This isn't up for conjecture, this is a fact. Magnetism is simply the dielectric field. To use ancient, which is a lost art, completely a lost art, and the fundamental primer and key to understanding things is retroduction. It's not induction or deduction, but retroduction. We know for a fact, through using this simple logic and applying our comprehension to these seemingly so but irrationally incorrect autonomous field modalities such as gravity, electricity, and magnetism, we were to apply simple logic to the fact that at the center of anything would be the highest concentration of something. Correct? Well, in the case of things which are modalities of dielectricity, at the center of all of these presumed autonomous things, there is not that thing. Well, what does that mean? That means if you stick a Gauss meter in the center of the most powerful magnet in the world or the weakest magnet in the world, you will find that there is zero magnetic field. So the point where there should be the highest concentration, there is none. In the case of a magnet, this is not my supposition or feeling, this is a hardcore objective fact. At the center of gravitational acceleration, there is no gravity. If you were to go to the middle of the Earth or the middle of the Sun, for example, there would obviously be no gravity. You'd be completely weightless. Well, that should be where gravity should be concentrated. If it were something, that would be at the point of highest concentration or the point of greatest purity. But that's not the case. Not only is it not the case, the complete inverse is true. At the center of an electromagnetic field, there is no electricity. There is only dielectric pulse perturbations. The only thing, and this is the key fact, which no scientist has ever talked about, not including Tesla, Faraday, Steinmetz, Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell, and Oliver Heaviside, is that the only field, and it's not a field, is the primer or the foundation, or in the ancient Greek the word would be kora, or agathon, depending on your approach to the matter, would be the dielectric. You can say, well, what's the dielectric? It's like, well, you need to study Tesla, Faraday, Steinmetz, Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell. You can think electrostatic. The highest concentration of electrostatic energy would be at its center. This tells you something of the 4 field modalities that we think are autonomous, but which are not. There's only one thing. There's only the dielectric, i.e. the ether. What is the ether itself? Well, it's nothing unless disturbed. When disturbed, then of course we have manifestation, either as the dielectric, necessitatively so, according to the formula, which is my discovery, here tattooed on the corner of my wrist, by the way, is the magnetic, which is the dielectric field, denotatively and connotatively. The creation of time and space. The one thing that gives unity to everything in the universe as meant phenomena is magnetism. Nothing has existence or unity, and by the way, existence literally means existence, to be outside of oneself, which is denotatively magnetism or appearance, i.e. mass and magnitude. Time does not exist. There's only one fundamental particle. We know for a fact that actually, but this part is theoretical, if you actually take like gamma radiation, which is up in the realm of 5 or 6 electrovolts, that somewhere, theoretically, it should be the threshold of 50 or possibly higher electrovolts, where we would actually have a stable form of electromagnetism, which would be the fundamental particle being spit out, for example, that we see in super high energy galactic jets. Galactic jets, by the way, are these gyromagnetic precessive emissions, these polar emissions that are shooting out trillions and trillions of tons of hydrogen, which hydrogen is just a fundamental particle. The proton, the fundamental particle of the universe, the building block of everything. So we only have one particle. and we only have one field modality. That field modality is the dielectric, and the dielectric is the only field modality at the center of which concentration is existent. At the center of magnetism, by the way, this is not my opinion, this is a fact. At the center of any magnetic field, there is no magnetism. At the center of any gravitational field, and gravity does not exist, there is zero gravity. It's not my opinion, this is just a goddamn fact. A hardcore damn fact. At the center of an electromagnetic perturbation, the longitudinal pulse perturbations of the dielectric, transverse electrical magnetic, there is no electricity at the center of that. Electricity is magnetism and dielectricity working as a hybrid unity. That is what electricity is. The easiest way to explain how electromagnet works is to simply fundamentally explain what the hell electricity is. When people understand that, hey, by losing the dielectric component of the electrical field, the only thing that is left is the magnetic. This is how electromagnet works. Oh my God, it makes so much sense now that I know what electricity is. The point fundamentally of this entire video is that there is only one particle. There is only one field. There is not water and ice and steam. There's only water. We can't speak of these things as that. We recognize them as something autonomous only due to their attributional interaction and our observation thereof. But they are not something separate. Anybody with 5 brain cells knows that water and steam and ice are all the same goddamn thing, don't they? Yet physicists and these mental midget, knuckle-dragging, pseudo-intellectual morons with PhDs, these empiricists, these atomists, these quantum cultists, who think that Mother Nature's a cross-eyed hooker on crack with a bag of magical particles, all of which are different and bumping around. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe is field pressure mediation. Everything is electrical. Everything is permittivity, dielectric permittivity, magnetic permeability, and capacitance resistance. There is only force and motion, inertia, and acceleration. These are the conjugate pressure field modalities of the ether as extant and expressed in the point source coherent state of the toroid and the hyperboloid, which together, if you superimpose one over the other, create what Tesla called what did Tesla call it? My favorite geometrical shape, which is a sphere. That's actually in Belgrade. I forget where Tesla's ashes are, but they're encased in a gold sphere. There's a picture of them. You can look at it on Google. Tesla's ashes are inside his favorite geometrical object, the sphere. The superimposition of these two things, the magnetic and the dielectric, and like I said, magnetism is the loss of inertia, as expressed in the force vector, which we think is force and motion. It's really the impotency of inertia. But that takes a lot more videos to explain that. The point being, like I said of this video, getting absolutely to the point, is that fundamentally, given enough wisdom and comprehension of how things work, the universe is more simple than a post-it note, more simple than a pencil, far more simple than a pencil. So simple that it would boggle the mind of the smartest minds on earth who spend endlessly their equations and their pontifications and their logomachy and their BS and their dribble and their voluminous equations. Everything is force and motion, inertia, and acceleration. We can extrapolate it out further by talking about capacitance, resistance, permeability, permittivity. We can extrapolate it out further into greater and greater and greater and greater complexity, all of which doesn't get to the point of expressing the absolute simplicity of what it is as itself, by itself. I love it when people, for example, and this is a perfect analogy, talk about the golden ratio. It's like, do you know what the golden ratio is? Yeah, well, it's a ratio. No, what is a ratio? Well, you know, what is phi? Well, the golden ratio is phi. Well, that's a description. That's not an explanation. So what is phi? Well, it's 1.618 or it's 11235. No. What is phi? What is this golden ratio you speak? Why is it golden, and what is the ratio of and relational to what? Well, when you ask that question to everybody that likes to spout off about the golden ratio, this is a perfect analogy, they haven't got a goddamn clue. And the absolute fact is, the golden ratio is, of course, we just eliminate out this golden ratio crap, okay? It is 1 is to phi as phi is to 1. This means that 1 is phi and phi is 1. The extrapolation and expression of the extrinsic attribute in delineation is phi. This means the fullness of fruition in the multitudinous expression as the prohodos, or the, and that's a Greek word, or the anankie, which is hard to translate, really hard. There's an entire book written on one Greek word, and it still never answers what that Greek word is, anankie. I know what it is. There's some magical ancient Greek philosophical terms that will never be translated. And there's like 4 or 5 people on Earth, less than 4 or 5, maybe 4. I'm one of them. That knows what the hell that word is and what it's in reference to. I lost track because I think of 1,000 things at once. But I mean, that is what phi is. Say golden ratio. I hate it. It's like they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just parroting stuff that they read. They see pretty pictures of spiral shells. Here we go. This is everybody's favorite example of the golden ratio. Look, it's the nautilus shell, and when you cut it, and I've got cut nautilus shells over here, it's so beautiful. We see the perfect logarithmic spiral of the golden ratio. It's like, what is the golden ratio? I don't know. It's really beautiful, though. It's like, you're an idiot, which is okay. So I know what the golden ratio is, they say. Really? Do you know what the golden ratio is? Or are you just spouting off crap you read in a book? And you see pretty stuff like this. Mother Nature laughs at these equations, these mathematicians, quantum physicists, physics in general, because Mother Nature doesn't work that way. Nature does not work that way. There are not 4 field modalities that need to be joined. They're already joined, and there's not 4 of them. There's not a mass of gaggle of different particles bumping and interacting with one another. We got a lepton here, a gluon here, an electron there, a neutron here, a proton. Bullshit. It's like a child saying that we got water over here, and steam here, and ice over here, and these are different things. It's like, no, you're not. You're just a little goddamn child. You don't know what the hell's going on, which is okay. You know, except in the case of human beings, child has a PhD hanging on the wall. And that means they're an authority. Well, they're an authority on Jack. They're authority on their own stupidity, but they're not an authority on what the hell's going on. Anyway, I hope you like these videos. If you do, click the link below. I wish I could talk about this for hours. I mean, I literally can talk about it for hours. Go deeper down the rabbit hole. I can go a lot deeper down the rabbit hole. Look into my eye. Tell me if I'm telling the truth on that one. I can go a lot deeper down the rabbit hole. That's that sort of crazy, insane smile that you never see me make in a video. Anyway, I've actually been through this book and its equations so many times that the pages are falling out. I can't keep the book together. I need a new copy of this book. This is a really good book, by the way. It'll blow most people's minds. He still never gets to the truth. But I use people like this that see part of the picture and I can see the rest of it. I'm not saying that's my source for this video, but too bad he's dead. I'd love to have a talk with him, unfortunately. Lux e veritas. If you like these videos, click the link below. Tell me to jump off a cliff, whatever makes you happy. Okay, bye.